Broadcasting live from Nephalia Academy on the plain of Innistrad, this is Tap Tap Concede. Woo! 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 Creepy ghost. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's Innistrad. It's creepy and weird. Welcome to Tap Tap Concede. Graham here.
Cameron here.
Oh, and Kathleen here.
Hey, Kathleen.
Yeah.
How's it going?
I'm okay. How are you?
Doing well. We're going to be talking about delicious Eldritch Moon flavor today.
So rich. So much umami.
So creamy.
So meaty.
Yeah, that's
Gross.
better. Yeah, it's definitely a major umami flavor on Innistrad right now.
Yeah.
I'm getting more of a kind of a blue cheese thing.
Oh,
Maybe it's a blend of both.
we're talking about some specific
Like whipped.
store
Oh, whipped.
stiff peaks. We're going to be talking about some flavor, not only just specific cards, but also the overall story of Eldritch Moon and just cards that we think are cool from a flavor perspective. And just going to hang out and talk about things that we like. But first of all,
We're going to crack a pack.
crack a pack.
So I'm going to roll the dice towards Paul, and Paul can tell us what number.
All right.
All right, ready?
Oh, there it goes.
Spoilers.
2.
Oh, counting from that end.
Yep.
This is a pack of Magic Origins, which was given to us by Chase at PAX Prime, which is coming up again.
Wow. Thank you very much, Chase.
Thank you, Chase.
Oh, chasing it for the long haul. I did just slightly knock the card reading camera with my foot.
Should be okay.
But
We'll find out together. The first card is Chandra's Fury.
Closer to the back. There you go.
Like there. There we are. That's 4 and a red for an instant. It deals 4 damage to target player and 1 damage to each creature that player controls.
I recall it being pretty good in Origins.
It was relevant against like the Thopter and the Elf deck.
Yeah. It wasn't a high pick, but I definitely tended to run one in any deck that had red. Just one.
It was
just
like
'cause-
it was like the C. It was like C rank.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it was good, but it wasn't amazing, but it was certainly had a home in your deck.
Yeah, like your opponent's at. Yeah, like.
It hit a lot of relevant tiny things.
yeah.
This one, however, was not amazing. Grasp of the Hieromancer. 1 and a white, enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1 and has, whenever this creature attacks, tap target creature defending player controls. Good effect.
Yes, very good effect. But
Cheap. Not necessarily worth a whole card and an aura at that.
Yeah.
Though I did get ruined by this once.
Yeah, like the aura cards, they always feel so bad when you lose to them.
Yeah, they
Right?
really
Because you're
do.
like, come on, just let me 3-for-1 this guy.
Yeah.
Right?
Night Snare is...
I don't remember this at all.
Yeah, well, there's a reason for that. 3 and a black for a sorcery. Target opponent reveals his or her hand. You may choose a non-land card from it. If you do, that player discards that card. If you don't, that player discards 2 cards.
Oh. Ugh. 4 mana to give your opponent a choice, but what
Well-
they get rid of?
So it's either you get to take any non-land card, or they just pitch 2 things. But they can pitch land cards.
Yeah.
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 So it's like,
Yeah.
it's not a good mind run.
No.
No.
Dragon Fodder.
Hey.
Oh, hey, speaking of Chandra's Fury.
Yeah, 1 and a red sorcery. Put 2 1/1 goblins onto the battlefield. Or sorry, create 2 1/1 goblin tokens. Is
Yeah.
the new template.
Yeah, it saves some like what, 10 words?
I think
Something
so.
like
Yeah.
that?
Well,
yeah.
it's put onto the battlefield.
Yeah.
So it consolidates 4 words into 5 letters. That's
Yeah.
brief aside. This was spoiled because of an upcoming F&M promo of Rise from the Tides
Rise from the Tides, yeah.
that says for every instant and sorcery spell in your graveyard, create a 2/2 black zombie token. And people are like, what is this? And so Wizards was like, oh, that, yeah. Oops, I guess. So confirmation of new templating. Years ago, dies used to be a full phrase as well. They do
Yeah.
this. They've done this a lot.
When that creature goes to the graveyard,
When
it
it's
used to be.
put into the graveyard from the battlefield.
Yeah.
Right.
That was a big phrase. So now it's just when this creature dies. So now we have create for put onto the battlefield. And so different things can be created. I think it's most commonly going to be tokens,
Yeah.
but I think that also means like, I'm curious if it also
Yeah, opens up some design space.
Well, I'm curious if it also means like you cast a creature, the creature goes on the stack. If it resolves, do you then create that creature? Because
maybe,
it is
yeah.
a creature being put onto the battlefield, and there's triggers for that.
Right. Whenever you
Is that-
create a creature, do this.
Yeah.
Right.
So is it now like whenever a creature is created,
Right.
do a thing? So I assume that's the case.
Oh yeah.
What was the card that had that?
Rise from the Tides. It's an upcoming F&M promo of it. It's images of it exist somewhere on the web, but I don't know, like nowhere official.
Yeah, I kind of like that. Like instead of whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, right?
Yeah.
Whenever you create a creature.
Yeah, which is
Yeah.
probably the direction they're going to go with it.
Well,
Yeah.
except what about blinking? Because you're not creating a creature. You're it's temporarily leaving the battlefield and coming
Yeah,
back.
no, that's fair.
So yeah, there we go.
Okay.
So
Create a tap 2/2 black zombie creature for every instant and sorcery card in your graveyard.
I mean,
So-
like basically, we're not rules managers, so I'll be
and this is the only card we know.
yeah.
But they've said that template replaces put onto the battlefield. Maybe it's only for tokens.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Anyway.
They haven't oracled it in the gather yet.
No, I think this was revealed before it was supposed to. I think this was revealed before its time. But I imagine it'll see use a lot in Kaladesh.
Yeah.
Thopters.
Hopefully Thopters.
Speaking of good against Thopters, back to the pack here for
No.
Aerial Volley.
No.
Single green mana,
No.
deals 3 damage, divided
again.
as you choose.
Not again.
Amongst 1, 2, or 3 target creatures
Not like this.
with flying.
Not like this.
This was such a situational sideboard card, but when you brought it in and it did work, you're like, yeah.
Yeah. It's a functional reprint of a couple different things. Maritime Guard. It is a 1/3 for 1 and a blue. Merfolk Soldier. Oh, here we go. Fiery Impulse.
Yep.
Single red mana, instant, deals 2 damage to target creature. But if you have Spell Mastery, which means if there are 2 or more instant and or sorcery cards in your graveyard, Fiery Impulse deals 3 damage instead.
Was this ever first pickable?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Really?
Yeah.
It depends on how bad the rest of your pack was.
Yeah.
Right.
But this was a. I mean,
It's a shock.
It's a shock that hits creatures, right? It's a shock that only hits creatures that can be a bolt that only hits creatures. In limited, that's still really good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Knight of the Pilgrim's Road, one of the lesser exciting renown creatures. It's a 3/2 for 2 and a white with renown 1, meaning whenever it deals combat damage to a player, it becomes renowned and you put a +1/+1 counter on it. So you get renown only happens once. So it's when it hits a player, if it isn't renowned, you put a +1/+1 counter on it and it becomes renowned. So
Right.
if you get in for if you get in for that 3, it becomes a 4/3. So this was just sort of a not hugely exciting. It was a 3/2 for 3. It was fine.
Yeah, it was a common curve filler.
I'm digging the flavor text on that.
Oh, the flavor text on Knight of the Pilgrim's Road.
Yeah.
To be a knight, Gideon, is to be a shield for the meek against the cruel.
Which is a lovely, very post-chivalry interpretation.
Yeah, very
of
very
what it's-
romantic.
Very like Middle Ages French literature idea of being a knight, but not a realistic one.
Yeah, no. To be a knight is to bash another person's head open if your lord tells you to.
Or just to be a badass mercenary.
Next up is Nantuko Husk, which
Hey, buddy.
had some pretty cool synergies in the set. 2 and a black for a 2/2 zombie insect. Sacrifice a creature, and Nantuko Husk gets +2/+2 until end of turn. This also saw
Constructed play.
in some standard decks. Yeah.
Yeah. What you would do is you would play Nantuko Husk, and then you would play the.
Cutthroat from Battle for Zendikar.
Well, you could also play the. Well, yeah, you would have the Cutthroat, that was a Blood Artist effect. But the really good one was also in Origins, the uncommon that came with 2 Thopter tokens, and you could tap 2 artifact creatures
Whirler
to make
Rogue.
something,
Yeah.
unblockable. So
And Rally the Ancestors.
yeah,
This was the Obzon Rally deck.
yeah.
Was you would
Well, yeah.
you'd sack a bunch of stuff to the Nantuko Husk, then rally them all back, get a bunch of ETB triggers, and then sack them all to the Husk again.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah. Things like
Elvish Visionary that would let you draw a card
or Fleshbag Marauder.
that would force both players to sacrifice a creature.
Yeah.
And then of course if you have the what's the Cutthroat? The something Cutthroat?
Zulaport Cutthroat.
Thank you, Zulaport
Yeah.
Cutthroat, which is you drain your opponent for 1 every time one of your creatures dies. There was a lot of synergy
Yeah.
going on with that deck.
Yeah, there were several decks based around these strategies. It was sweet.
Right. Next step in this pack of Origins is a card that was not sweet, but they keep printing them. Deep Sea Terror.
Oh, is it a conditional 6/6?
It sure is. I'm just
Wow.
trying to get it up on screen there. There we go. 4 blue for a 6/6 Serpent. Deep Sea Terror can't attack unless there are 7 or more cards in your graveyard.
It's a real throwback to the days when creatures were bad in Magic.
It really is.
Yeah.
Next up, though, we have Patron of the Valiant. This is a 4/4 flyer for 3 white, which is fine. And when it enters the battlefield, you put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control that already has a +1/+1 counter on it.
Well, the rich get richer, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in the Renown deck, this was pretty crazy. I mean, in Limited, you play this anyway just because it's a 4/4 flyer for 5.
Yeah.
Right? It's not astounding, but you
It's
tip
a
it.
4/4 that flies.
In the white deck, you would typically get 1 counter out of this. But even if you didn't, it's a 4/4 flyer for 5, so you're fine. Now this guy, Consul's Lieutenant in Canada. It's a 2/1 first strike. Sorry, it's a 2/1 for white. So 2/1 for 2. It already has first strike, which is great. It has Renown 1. So if you connect with it as a 2/1, it becomes a 3/2 with first strike, which is a crazy good creature.
Yes.
And also, whenever Consul's Lieutenant attacks, if it is renowned, other attacking creatures you control get +1/+1 until end of turn.
My experience with this card is it was immediately bolted.
Yeah, this is a
Yeah.
removal magnet.
Yeah.
My experience with this card is I never got it to cook off because people were just like, nope.
Yeah, my experience with this card was it killed me because I didn't have Fiery Impulse in hand.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm just like, come on. No,
Oh
7.
yeah, Ram Roller. It's a 2/3 Juggernaut for 3 mana. It attacks each turn of Fable because that's what Juggernauts do. And Ram Roller gets +2/+0 as long as you control another artifact, which came up pretty frequently.
Yeah.
This
yeah.
card was fine. It wasn't
Yeah.
great, but it was fine in the artifact. It was fine.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a C-.
And a card that was not that great is Helm of the Gods. This is our rare.
Oh.
It is
Boo.
a single mana equipment that also equips for 1 mana, and the equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each enchantment you control. To
Somewhere-
be clear, this does stone nothing on its
Yeah.
own.
Yeah.
It's cheap, but it does absolutely nothing by
No.
itself.
Yeah.
Somewhere, as we speak these very words, someone is playing a game of Commander and completely blowing out their opponents
Yeah.
with a Helm of the Gods.
And preparing some angry comments for us about how this gave their creature +17/+17 in one game, and they swung and won.
yeah.
We also got a Thopter token.
Which one? The correct one.
The prettiest one.
Svetlin Velinov.
Yeah. There was one with like 2 rotors and then one with wings, which is an actual ornithopter.
There was a white black
Yeah.
enchantment deck that could, typically ran like maybe 4 or 5 enchantments.
Right. Yeah, because it
and
also
there was some
got
synergies there. And
the uncommon.
It still wasn't-
Orzhov Vampire.
Yeah.
In the cycle cared about enchantments.
Yeah, but it still wasn't like.
No.
I'm not.
No.
You're not going to run this.
No, you're
Like
not.
the enchantments I think you want, if you are like hell-bent on this, was the pacifism or the O-ring analog in this at common,
Yeah.
the 4-drop aura.
Suppression bonds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and if you could get in with like the enchantment creatures or the gods or whatever, if you go back to like Theros stuff.
Oh yeah, if you're
Yeah.
constructed, yeah. But
There's all
it
sorts
just
of
wasn't
fun stuff,
powerful enough,
but-
Yeah.
The set also had Boonweaver Giant, and we talked about this before. Spectra Ward? No, we talked about this before, and I called it Spectra Ward, and I got it wrong.
Yeah.
But it was I just remember the Boonweaver Giant being relevant. Wait, was Boonweaver in this set or M15?
Might have been M15
I don't
actually.
think I
I think
remember
that
in
was
this set.
M15.
M15 had a very strong white-black. It was M15. Had a
Yeah.
very strong white-black enchantment sub-theme.
But like this had Stab Wound, didn't it?
It did,
Origins had Stab Wound, I thought.
which was super good.
Yeah.
Although a lot of the time you just blow that off to kill it, like something with two toughness.
Which is fine.
Yep.
I know, but it's not gonna. Like the point is, even if you had the good enchantments that were good and were helping your deck, there's literally no reason that you should be running that rare.
That one was also M15.
Oh, it was,
Was
not
it
in that?
M15? Okay. What am I thinking of then? Because there was definitely like a black kill you aura.
I mean, there's a black kill you aura in Eldritch Moon. It's Boon
Yeah.
of Emrakul.
Yep.
Look at that.
Oh well, yeah.
What a transition.
Ooh, smooth.
Oh.
Just-
Excellent segue.
Plus
yeah.
3, -3. I've never seen that used to buff a creature. I've only seen it used to kill my creatures.
That happened to me in a game. I was playing the Geist powered robot. What is it? The Geist Scarecrow.
Yeah.
So the Geist. Let me actually pull it up.
The
here.
the guy that makes all your creatures cost more.
Yeah, I actually have it right. Where is it? I'm looking at the colorless. There
Point
we
being,
go.
it's a 4/4.
Geist Fueled Scarecrow. Yeah, so it's a 4/4 for 4, and it makes your creature spells cost one generic more to cast, which like kind of sucks. But then you have a 4/4
Yeah.
on turn 4, which is actually like pretty annoying. And so you can just sort of rumble
I
in
would say
there.
that's definitely ahead of the curve.
Yeah, you can just rumble in with it, and if they kill it, like if they kill it, you're going to be trading it for either a like premium removal spell or a creature. At which point you're like, okay, cool, it's dead now, and then second main I'll cast my 5-drop or whatever, right? But my opponent cast a Boon of Emrakul on it, so it became a 7/1.
Right.
They had a blocker, but then I was just like, oh, okay, I'd kill your blocker and hit you for 7.
Yeah, don't cast Boon of Emrakul on your opponent's creature unless you can kill your opponent's creature.
Yeah.
What is actually happening in the artwork for Boon of Emrakul?
Lots of things.
But I can't tell what I'm supposed to be looking at. Was
It's like
that a
I
person?
think it's like a fungal bloom kind of thing. No, well, not fungus,
but like it's
obviously.
like
but-
there's some legs in the background there.
Are there?
Yeah.
and there's a hand at the front.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, there's a person. Holy crap, that thing's huge.
Let me see.
This is a person in the right, being held by a giant hand.
Oh.
They're limp across a hand. That is a human being. The Boon of Emrakul is huge.
Interesting.
Is the one from Origins?
Right. Weight of the Underworld, which
Oh.
wasn't even that good.
Ugh, no.
Oh right, yeah.
Yeah, I think the black-white deck in Origins wanted suppression bonds
Yeah.
and not not the helm.
Not that.
No.
So yeah, the Boon of Emrakul is a good jumping off point because what we're seeing in Eldritch Moon, we're talking about flavor today, of course, as we said, is things being corrupted by Emrakul's presence, influence.
Just general being aroundness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Emrakul is there, and all life is like,
Yeah.
essentially.
And we talked about this last time, but I really enjoy how so many aspects of Innistrad are just sort of dealing with it. Because it doesn't seem. It looks horrific.
If
but-
you read the stories, people are a little less chill about it.
Yeah, they're not happy with it, but like, it doesn't. People don't seem too bothered when it happens to them. You know, like I'm looking at in green, the Emrakul's Evangel. He's still doing his job.
Yeah.
He has a 8-foot wibbly arm growing out of his side.
And a bullfrog neck, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like the people who take over the church, the church of the
Avacyn.
Talia,
Yeah.
the Talia and Audric were part of before they were like, ooh, no, peace.
Yeah.
They're like hideously, I've been reading all the stories. This is my contribution to today's discussion. They're like hideously deformed under there, but they're still like going out and being like, hey, this is the way now.
Yeah.
Like they're still getting it done, right?
But I just find that very interesting.
That looks really handy if you need to like do like fiddly like baking stuff.
Or drown a guy in a font.
Yeah. I guess this is a baptism.
Something I really liked.
He can type at like 200 words per minute.
Is it
Crazy
just like
fast.
is it just like Ghost in the
I
Shell?
was literally just thinking of Ghost in the Shell. Yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, keyboards haven't been invented on Innistrad yet,
Yeah.
but he's mad with a scroll. Just-
Yeah.
So something I find very interesting when I was looking at the set as a whole is that the werewolves, there are no human werewolves.
No, they're all.
Well, there's Ulrich.
That's true. There's the one.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there's broadly speaking, all the werewolves are werewolf horrors, and we can look to Kessig Prowler for some flavor text that says, "In the wake of Emrakul, some werewolves' human forms were lost forever."
Yeah, a lot of the werewolves were affected, but not all.
No, not all. But in the set, except for Ulrich, there's no human werewolves. They all start as werewolf horrors. They all
Right.
start as infected, tainted, whatever werewolves.
And from a flavor perspective, it's fantastic that you can pay to transform them, but there's no way to flip them back.
Yeah.
It's a one-way trip.
Yeah.
And they all then turn into Eldrazi werewolves. So I like
you-
that they go from human and flip to werewolf, and then in this set they flip from werewolf to Eldrazi, which I think is neat.
Did you guys listen to the set review with Marshall and Owen Tortenwald?
No.
Not all of it. I've
Owen
about
goes
halfway
off
through.
on a long tear about how
What is an Eldrazi werewolf?
well, what is an Eldrazi werewolf? I don't like what I'm looking at. This is not okay. I don't like it. It's
Yeah.
very funny. So like I feel like that's that's weird.
I was hoping that there would be analogs between the horror werewolves and the transformed werewolves from Shadows. The nearest we could find was Paul found this one actually. The Convicted Killer is it's from Shadows over Innistrad. It's a 2/2 for 2 and a red, and then he just with no other abilities, and he turns into the branded Howler, which is a 4/4. So 4/4 werewolf, and according to the flavor text, is from the Vilden Pack. Because the flavor text talks about the Vilden Pack werewolf specifically. And then in Eldritch Moon, you have the Vilden Pack Outcast, who is also a 4/4, but also has trample and fire breathing, kind of. And then turns into the 5/7, the Drone Pack Kindred.
Yeah. Well, I do like how it's an outcast now that it's become a horror. Like the
Yeah.
other werewolves are like,
Goodbye.
we're on board with the whole murder thing, but what's going on,
With this tentacle thing that's
yeah,
happening?
in your sitch right now, I think is really just not acceptable, and we're going to have to ask you to leave.
The thing is, though, this is a heartwarming story because on the front side he's the outcast, but now he's the kindred. He's found a whole bunch of other
The Drone
weird
Pack.
wolves
Yeah.
to be friends with.
A drone pack. That sounds like I've been to that concert, I think.
Yeah, that
Where it's
definitely
just like a
sounds
bunch of like dudes
That's
in
industrial
black.
music.
Well, yeah. Well, everyone's just like standing around with kind of their heads semi-bowed, kind of like
You're doing
bobbing their
this.
head just a little bit.
So I'm not saying that this guy definitely is the Convicted Killer, because it's only that they both have 4/4 and they're from Vilden Pack. But we were looking to see if maybe from the art there were clues. I was like, is the Ulvenwald captive maybe the Timber Shredder? Is that where this is going? But no, it's not. It looks like there are no actual direct analogs. It's just sort of the werewolves in general. But I do find it interesting though that the wolves are unaffected. The werewolves are all becoming tainted and turned or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, for the most
But the brazen wolves, which by the way says with fewer patrols around, Kessig's roads have become prime hunting grounds, and the deranged whelp, which is he looks like he's got rabies or something, but he is clearly not remotely.
he doesn't say Eldrazi wolf.
No,
does
he's
he?
not infected at all. And the spirit of the hunt,
I feel like most of
which
the
is a spirit wolf, but still. Anyway,
most
the
of
point
the
is,
from what I've gotten from reading the stories, you need to have a mind, like a conscious mind, to be turned by the power of Emrakul. And like, if you're not, like, I feel like,
Emrakul's doing okay with getting horses, though.
well, but that's it. Who rises one? Maybe she got the rider and the horse melded together,
Possibly. Yeah.
I think
right?
I've
You don't
seen-
see a lot of mutated animals.
Well,
not
like,
living ones, because the
Yeah.
ghoul steed and the ghoul steed was a zombie. The what's the other horse? The other nightmare
The
horse.
Ashmouth
Yeah,
horse?
the-
Ashmouth Steed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
has 5 legs,
Right.
Right.
but
Okay.
it's a nightmare horse.
yeah.
The only wolf I can think of that's showing like signs of corruption is the rare one from Shadows with the bifurcated lower jaw.
Oh, right,
That gets
okay.
double strike with delirium.
Oh yeah, Scourge Wolf.
Scourge wolf.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there's less animals
Yeah.
being mutated. Oh, I guess, and there's the rats and like stuff like that.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Like in
But
the like
I
that
don't know,
merges to become the chittering host.
Maybe the wolf packs are kind of like
Graph
Graph rats, yes.
purging their own.
Yeah. They're like, whoop, nope.
Yeah, at any rate. Sorry, Terry, you gotta go.
Yeah, maybe I'm barking up a tree with that. What I like from a flavor point, from a flavor point, the non-mutated werewolves and vampires and humans all end up working together to fight back the Eldrazi, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, I did like it wasn't like, now the living must band together against the dead. It was like, now the things that are what they're supposed to be should probably figure out what's going on with the things that are not, that are more epistemologically confused.
Yeah, it's like, you're a vampire, you're a human, and you're a werewolf. But considering there's a shrieking two-headed angel that just came out of the sky, I'm going to let that slide and focus on that.
Yeah. It's like, yo, let's, yeah.
Briefly on this.
You know what? You are literally the least of my problems right now.
Briefly on the subject of Ulrich of the Krallen Horde, I like that he turns into uncontested alpha. And there was a question because Ulrich's, when he transforms into uncontested alpha, whenever this creature transforms into Ulrich uncontested alpha, you may have it fight target non-werewolf creature you don't control. And someone's like, well, he's not uncontested if he's doing all these fights. And it's like, no, he's starting these fights.
Yeah.
The fight happens when he turns into the werewolf. No one's contesting him. He's just like starting shit.
Yeah. He's asserting dominance.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
This is how he remains uncontested.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's the only human werewolf in the set.
Well, I also like that how it encourages him to fight somebody who's not as big as he is.
That's a big part of becoming
Yeah.
Hey,
staying
weenie.
uncontested, to making sure nobody gets to be as big as you are.
Stop it. Hey, idiot.
Also, I think I like back to your earlier point about like all the werewolves in the set being Eldrazi. Ulrich was apparently supposed to be printed in shadows, but they didn't want to have two kind of like werewolf mythics, I think was the explanation.
Ulrich and Arlen.
Right.
Yeah, they just didn't have the space in shadows for both Ulrich and Arlen Cord. And they wanted Arlen Cord in shadows and were like,
That's fair.
yeah, so like originally you're 100% correct. All the werewolves were supposed to be the horror werewolves.
Well, you only want to do so many planeswalkers in one set. And
Yeah.
This one, like Lily and Tamio had to be in this one, so that makes a lot of sense.
For various flavor reasons.
Speaking of the reasons,
Oh, speaking of, well, do you want to? I'll just give a spoilers if you haven't read the Magic fiction yet. It's on the Magic website of how the whole thing goes down. Basically, everybody, what happens at the end of the story, I guess, is that Lily shows up and she's just like, "Heard you chumps needed some help. How about some vampires?" And she's like, "You know what I haven't done yet? Kill an Eldrazi."
or zombies, I guess.
Zombies,
Yeah,
sorry.
zombies, yeah.
And she's just like, how much power can the Chain Veil give me? Ooh, lots.
As it
Turns out that's a bit of a bad idea, and there's some hubris, and then Jace saves the day. But he'd cast some sort of mind spell to splinter off a portion of his mind to keep it safe from everything that was going on, so he has to sort of talk to himself, and he realizes how annoying he is. So there's a lot of talk about how frustrating he finds himself.
Well, like,
So that gives me a lot of hope for his character in the future.
well, like there was this great moment in one of the earlier stories where Jace first arrives on Innistrad looking
Yeah.
for Liliana,
Yeah.
where he is talking to the guy who is driving. He's hired to drive the carriage at Liliana's manse, and the guy's just like, and Jace just keeps going on and on about basically how he and Liliana used to be a thing, but now they're not, and like how he feels about it, and like the guy just sounds.
Bored.
Well, he sounds
the
like a
bored
cabbie
Uber driver.
who's bored Uber driver. It was a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
Where Jace is like, this guy is not getting much of a tip. He's not talking to me about my ex.
Yeah.
Oh God! that sounds
Basically,
miserable.
Jace is going through and sort of like trying to like figure out what the hell is happening, and he goes on this whole vision quest and stuff, and ends up talking to himself, and then he's just like, "I am so condescending. I can never interact with another human being again. Oh no!" But eventually, he figures it out, and
amazing.
so what happens is everybody is just like, everybody's fucked, and whoops, sorry, bad language. Everybody's screwed.
Nice save.
Saved. And Emrakul's just like, that's the official Eldrazi noise.
Yep.
And she's advancing on them. And Lily is just like, oh yeah,
Just
Pew,
making,
pew, pew.
making zombies everywhere.
no, she just raises zombies and is just like, how about pure necromantic energy to just kill a gigantic chunk of that gross purple sky mushroom? And that works for a bit, but she sort of gets worn down because by Emrakul. And then while Lily sort of like passes out, and then her zombies are slowly getting worn away, Jace finally comes out of like the Jace mind and is like, I know what we need to do. It's sort of like preemptively save the day, so it's a little bit Deus Ex Machina, but it's also Jace. So that's fine. And they do this big thing, and they imprison Emrakul in the moon, because as you recall, the Hellavolt was a sliver of the moon, and so what's more powerful than a sliver of the moon that could hold demons in Avacyn for 1,000 years, or
The
however
whole
long it
moon.
was? The whole moon. So they do this, and they are...
There's a card showing Nissa doing stuff. Yeah,
Yeah, Nissa,
Tameo and Nissa.
Tameo has this scroll that she's reading. Nissa's using the ley lines of Innistrad, even though the ley lines of Innistrad are weird and gross, and she's like, yeah.
Yeah, that's
It's
actually...
like touching like slimy stuff is like the...
If I can intercut with the flavor text on Bloodbriar, she says, there is a sourness here that I don't understand. When the land reaches out to me, I hesitate to reach back.
Yeah. So she's just like, ew, gross, but she does it.
Ew, ew.
But interestingly enough,
Sort of like when lettuce goes bad and turns into just like brown slime.
yeah, there's something about Innistrad is very gross and sort of rotten from within. But interestingly enough, the spell almost fails because they don't have quite enough power. At this point, Lily's like unconscious because she's expended so much energy trying to fight back Emrakul. And then Tameo whips out another scroll and reads that, and then they get her in the moon, and they're like, "Yay, go team, woo!"
Right.
And then, but it turns out, I'll read you the relevant bit from the end of the story. All right, so like Tameo looked at him, sadness and scorn both in her eyes. No, you don't understand. It was me from the second scroll. That's where the energy came from. Okay, that's wonderful. You saved us. You saved all of Innistrad, all of everything. Is it because it was one of those iron scrolls, the scrolls you didn't want to open? Just shut up, Jace. Ding. It wasn't me. She took me over. Do you understand? It was not me. I was there in my own body, helpless, as she came in and took over. My eyes, my hands, my voice. She took them all over. They were not mine. So, and then basically it implies very heavily, basically, because Jace also has a talk with Emiria in his own mind prison, that who really sealed Emrakul in the moon was herself, because she came out and she was like, what does she say? Let's see. This is all wrong. I'm incomplete, unfulfilled in Choet. There should be blossoms, not barren resentment. The soil was not receptive. It is not my time, not yet. So Emrakul is there because she wants to be there.
Yeah.
But
Like-
does that imply that she can get out whenever she wants?
I mean, maybe not. Probably not.
But yeah, Emrakul kind of like retreats into the moon because it's safe there for her.
I think it's more
And
like,
that she like there's something that she's supposed to be doing,
yeah,
and this is not it.
yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, she's like, no, I'm not supposed to be. My alarm does not go off for another 2 hours, you stupid planeswalkers. I
Yeah.
am going back to bed, and you will not disturb me. Thwomp. Right?
Well, one of the things that I really liked in what are now Magic stories was there was one from Nahiri's perspective where she's talking about being imprisoned in the Hell Vault, and while she's in the Hell Vault, she reconstructs Zendikar in her mind
Whoa.
as just a thing that she can do, and she enjoys spending time there because otherwise she's in like the sensory deprivation tank.
Right.
I just like that hook that Nahiri has a copy of Zendikar stored upstairs from before Kozilek and Ulamog trashed the place.
Right.
So that if they ever want to restore Zendikar to how it was before, they need Nahiri.
Interesting. That's super cool.
Yeah.
I hadn't thought of that.
I feel like Zendikar being naturally fertile and abundant is probably will just grow back. It's like when you like prune a plant too aggressively, but you don't kill it,
Yeah.
grows back eventually.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think actually Innistrad is doing right. Zendikar Resurgent. I think actually Innistrad is doing fairly okay because nothing else should be turning at this point.
No.
and we have the Church of Sigarda now.
Yeah, but Thraben, where basically the whole thing got trashed, was the most populous part of Innistrad.
Yeah, but I think it can recover.
Emrakul's not going to appear over,
Well,
the
yeah.
Innistradian analog of Topeka, Kansas. She's going straight for Innistradian New York.
Well, yeah, like I guess Zendikar was also subjected to like years worth of Eldrazi trashing the place,
Yeah.
right? And kind of all of its major population centers were destroyed.
Yeah.
And like there was basically nothing left when they killed Ulamog and Kozilek. But Emrakul, they stopped relatively early.
The so I was just looking. This is a card that certainly the art I really want to talk about. But I was looking at the flavor text on Prey Upon, which says the Somberwald has become a hunting ground for the Drone Pack, a group of werewolves that have succumbed to the flesh-twisting power of Emrakul. So it sounds like the Drone Pack is just another werewolf pack,
Right,
with
right.
wibbly bits. But it seems like you've got like there was the obviously the Vilden pack gets referenced a lot. There was the Kessig pack. Like there's different Howl packs on Innistrad. So it sounds like each of them have lost some number of werewolves that have all sort of joined the Drone Pack, which I assume can be hunted down.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I assume there's probably, with Emrakul gone, do you think the magic that was keeping these writhing, twisting, otherworldly lumps that didn't have the right anatomy going, do you think?
I don't know.
I
Do you
don't
think
know,
they just
yeah.
fall apart, turn into mush?
Yeah,
I would think
or
so.
if like if they no longer have like internal organs or anything. Who knows? Like
Yeah,
I mean,
it's like turns out
it's magic, right?
Yeah,
Like-
it's magic.
So this is the other reason I
It
wanted
turns
to
out
mention
8 spleens do not replace your heart.
the other reason I wanted to mention Prey Upon is because Prey Upon was first printed in original Innistrad with art of a werewolf jumping at a human. And now the reprint is a
A drone.
Eldrazi werewolf
Jumping at a werewolf?
jumping at a werewolf.
Uh-oh.
pose.
Yeah, in the same pose.
Is it
Dave Kendall?
Dave Kendall?
Yeah, it's the same artist.
oh, wild.
Yeah. I just think that's really, really interesting.
And going back to something we were talking about earlier, I really do like the idea that the drone pack behaves a lot like another Howl pack, only it's horrifying, right? The same way that the Lunarch Inquisition behaved a lot like the Lunarch Council, or the Church of Avacyn, right? Like Emrakul doesn't change behaviors; she changes particularities, which I think might actually be kind of cool,
Yeah.
right?
The other card I wanted to talk about, well, one of the other ones with art, is if we look at Make-A-Wish from original Innistrad. I know a lot of people have brought this up already, but talk about Make-A-Wish, and there's the girl with her little teddy bear and throwing a coin in the well. It says, in Gavany, wishing is taken as a sign of weakness, yet the wells usually brim with silver. Because, it's like, oh, no one actually admits that they use the wishing well, but they all do. And then in Eldritch Moon, grapple with the past
Oh yeah, I was wondering why there was where I was going for a teddy bear.
is the same well, and now this Eldrazi creature
Is going for a
is
bear.
pulling a teddy bear out of the well, because that's the little girl.
Oh,
Emrakul does not grant wishes. Desires simply align to her will,
No, it's very Taoist.
is the flavor text. This callback is
Same artist again.
so
Yeah.
good. That's
I did not notice that actually, and I was just wondering. I was like, why the heck is it pulling up a bear?
yeah. That's it's so good.
It's a cute bear.
Yeah.
I miss that bear.
I think there were a couple other direct art references that but I don't recall immediately. That was the one that I found the most striking. Oh, the tree.
Yeah, the Tree of Redemption.
Yeah, Tree of Redemption in original Innistrad was the green tree. I think it was it still a 013? Yeah, 013, the Tree of Redemption, defender plant. Can you read the flavor text, Kathleen?
The Executioner's Tree in Thraben Cathedral holds the power to absolve more than the souls of the hanged.
And you can exchange your life total with the Tree of Redemption's toughness. The Tree of Perdition is the new one. It's still a 0/13 for 4 mana, except now instead of 3 and a green, it's 3 and a black. Still a defender, and you exchange target opponent's life total with Tree of Perdition's toughness, and the flavor text simply says there will be no absolution.
I like how there's
And there's dudes hanging from it.
yeah.
I don't know if the tree is moving or if there's just a very heavy wind, because one of the guys looks like he's billowing.
I like this is such a good combo with Triskaidekaphobia.
Oh yeah. I mean, if you
Yeah.
have, it's a mythic with a rare, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, shush. That's
I hope
also
someone-
that's also Brazella.
I hope someone lived that dream. That's
Yeah.
true. That is Brazella, yeah.
I really hope that someone also lives the dream with Tree of Perdition and Assault Formation.
Just
Like,
hit you for 13.
yeah. So the cards I wanted to talk about were cards that interacted with the graveyard, but in ways that I thought were kind of interesting.
Yeah.
So the three I want to talk about were like the first is Extricator of Sin, which just uses Delirium, right? But I think like Delirium is a really interesting way of like looking at what the graveyard actually is, because graveyard interactions in the past have tended to be things like you can return something from your graveyard, right?
Or
after
if
it's
there's
been used.
something in your graveyard, you get like the card says like this gets you get to do it, or it gets +1/+1 for each other
think,
one named,
like
or
Goyf-like things.
or the card draw spells, or it's like if you've got multiple copies of
Yeah.
this, blah blah blah.
Yeah, but it's always been kind of like, your graveyard is where things are dead, right? And maybe like you can use it to power other things up, but like those cards have always been like things that feed on the dead,
Yeah.
right? Like what doesn't, like Tarmogoyf specifically says, like what doesn't die feeds the Tarmogoyf.
Yeah.
But I just like the idea of Delirium as being like you have seen a certain breadth of things, and that breadth of things, like there's the Lovecraft line about like the greatest blessing is the human mind's inability to correlate all of its contents, right? So once you've seen like a certain number of different things go by, maybe something twigs in your mind, and you see through, and I like that being the condition here for the Extricator of Sin, as being this like the executioner for the church, who can come down and destroy something, and you get an Eldrazi horror, which is surprising, right? Like you execute a guy, you don't necessarily expect something new to crawl out of it, but then when it flips, due to becoming delirious, you can just start doing that constantly. Right, like that surprise hits, it enables your own delirium, and then you know the trick to doing it again. And I also like in the art, the head in the basket is crawling away.
Oh, I
It's
didn't even
doing the
notice
thing
that.
from the thing.
Is it really?
Yeah, where the guy has a heart attack and they try to defibrillate him, only it's the thing, and they hit him with a flamethrower, only his head escapes
Yeah.
and grows spider legs and crawls away.
Oh, yeah.
Let me see.
That's so cool.
That's not okay. I mean, I feel like that's the motto for most of Innistrad these days. Is "Ooh, that's not okay."
That's not okay.
Like I think in the movie, one of the survivors goes, "You gotta be kidding me!" when he sees the head crawling away.
Also,
Right?
good flavor. After the end, a new beginning.
Yeah, and the other cards were Curious Homunculus, where you have I'm not going to say it's Oglor, but I want it to be Oglor from original Innistrad.
Or Garl?
Garl was the human assistant. Oglor
right.
was the homunculus. Oglor,
Right.
create life. Oglor, do this. Oglor, throw the switch.
Right.
Oglar just wants to take a break. Right?
Yeah.
So once again, here the graveyard is kind of being used as the breadth of experience, right? Like you once you've cast a certain number of spells, or instant or sorceries, and once they're in your graveyard, you can transform it. It goes from being like a mana dork to being this thing that has seen a certain amount of shit and is now changed by it, right? It gets prowess, so it feeds on its own experience, and now it makes those other things cheaper, so it enables itself, right? I don't know. I think it's a cool little bit of design that mechanically it squares with itself. And then the third one was Bedlam Reveler, who is very similar. Bedlam Reveler is a devil horror that costs 1 generic less to cast for each instant or sorcery in your graveyard. So once again, you kind of call it by having cast those spells, and then it encourages you to do that more by drawing new cards and getting prowess and becoming more powerful.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I was just thinking one of the things that I've noticed looking at especially the flip cards, the guys who are turning into Eldrazi, that I quite like is that like in original Innistrad you had the Church of Avacyn, who are fighting against all the zombies and vampires and stuff, and so you've got like a priest of Avacyn like showing their the symbol
Right,
of
right, right.
Avacyn to a vampire, and the vampire's like, "Whoa!" because it's like a holy, it's like the cross or whatever, right? Whereas Emrakul like doesn't care, right? Like the thing, like the when people like when an Abyssinian priest turns into the weird Eldrazi version, it's still carrying its holy symbol of Avacyn.
Yeah.
Because it's like it's not like it.
Yeah, it's like Avacyn doesn't care about human faith.
Yeah, the
Right.
Eldrazi are on a totally different axis
Yeah, yeah.
than the good and evil that Innistrad normally deals with.
Yeah, they're neutral, right, to that whole thing.
Yeah.
Vampire, werewolf, angel, they don't care. They'll screw you all up.
Yeah. Well, and
I like how
I-
one house of vampires embraced it though, which is the
Stromkirk?
the Stromkirk. Yeah, is it the one? It's like the one
Because
you didn't
they
see.
think Emrakul's their sea god.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
Emrakul came out of the sea.
Yeah, so they're like, oh,
Yeah.
I think it's the Stromkirk.
I think so too.
Just some
Yes.
Yeah.
some specific cards I wanted to mention. Fiendbinder is a 3/2 human that when it attacks you tap a target creature the defending player controls. Now why would a Fiendbinder merely be tapping, restraining an Eldrazi instead of killing it? Flavor text: she had not believed any shred of humanity remained in these writhing monsters until the twisted form of her partner appeared before her.
Aw.
So she's restraining it instead of killing it.
Right.
The face in that one too.
Yeah, there's a face in it. And I also really like the Woodland Patrol. It's a 3/2 for 3 with Vigilance. They both have giant axes. Each had seen friends and family taken by the corruption, so each carried an axe at the other's request.
Comes to that, I'll do us both.
Yeah, well, it's like,
Yeah.
if I turn,
Yeah.
you use that axe on me,
Yeah.
right? I just love each used it at the other's request.
I love that also from a flavor point of view that this creature has vigilance.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
yeah.
they got
They're
their-
paying attention.
Yeah.
They got their head in a swivel.
Yeah.
It's like the what was the Vigilant Sliver in M14? It's like a Sentinel Sliver.
Yeah.
It's got two faces and it's looking in either direction.
Yeah.
It's keeping an eye open. I'm watching you. There's just so much really good stuff. Like I love cards like that can just tell their own little.
Yeah,
Little
this tiny
story.
story.
Oh,
Yeah.
speaking of the story, I just saw you skimming past a picture of Liliana. You know how obviously Liliana is now the 5th member of the Oath of the Gatewatch, and she's doing the the joining, and you got the card with her oath, and she looks all nice and smiley and happy, and you're like, oh, that's kind of neat. So.
Oh, the weirded vampire is another example of a Stromkirk.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, yes,
With the weird arms coming out.
Yeah, Emrakul makes apparent those whom she has favored. So it's that's a Stromkirk vampire. They are all in on Emrakul.
Because you don't see the Stromkirk family in the first block. They're just like, I don't know where all the Stromkirk vampires went.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is hanging out in Nephalia and being like, this is awesome. So you get a lot of point of view of Liliana in the final chapter, and she you can tell she's still got a thing for Jace, and she's kind of annoyed when Jace goes to talk to Tamio, and
Right.
not her. And then Tamio's all like, bleh, and like after they put Emrakul in the moon, and she's like, wimpy mind mages. But Gideon, she's like, man, that guy is dumb.
Yeah.
But not so bad to look at.
Yeah.
And this is Gideon talking to her about joining the Gatewatch from Liliana's point of view. Eventually, the eye candy approached.
Yeah.
There were more do-gooder words about do-gooding, but Liliana was too focused on the oath to pay close attention. She had thought extensively about the right approach to it. Too sincere, too sugary, and suspicions would be raised. Suspicions that would make her next steps harder. But too cynical, too revealing, and those suspicions would instead be confirmed. She needed a delicate touch, a hint of cynicism, but with her heart clearly in the right place. So, yeah, basically she's just like, oh, friends, those are like zombies, but they don't help you because you make them. They help you because they want to. Interesting.
I knew people like that in high school.
I mean, not to be like I'm so edgy, but I'm like, yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
Right? Like I get that whole like how do I deliver this to make people think that I'm being sincere?
Well, I just like that Liliana kind of has like this long list of like slab man chunk kind of names for Gideon.
Yeah.
It's like, what's your name? Sorry, I didn't mean for you to talk.
Yeah.
Punch rock groin.
Yeah.
Butch deadlift. Stud beef pile.
Yeah, she's also one more funny thing from that story.
Gristle McThornbody.
As Jace is going through the Jace Mind Palace, essentially trying to figure out how to beat Emrakul, he goes and he sees into the minds of all of the other members of the Gatewatch, and what he's truly looking for is Liliana, because I think this is not the last time we will see Jace and Liliana. Perhaps they will kiss again.
Hooray.
I'm fine with that. Whatever. I think it's kind of funny. But he's going through and he finds Gideon, and then he finds Chandra, and then he finds Tamio, and he's like, oh, the next one, this has got to be Liliana. Oh, it's Nissa.
Yeah.
Like, even Jace is
Yeah.
disappointed to talk to Nissa.
Nissa doesn't have a lot going on upstairs, I think.
He's like, eh.
Yeah.
That's really funny.
I thought all of those were, like, funny moments.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I didn't realize also if you look at the Subjugator Angel, if we recall
Oh.
from before, there was the different angel flights.
Yes.
The flight Gold Knight,
Flight
Moon Silver, I think.
Moon Silver was Avacyn's. Flight Alabaster was Bruna's.
Yeah. The remnants of Innistrad's corrupted angelic hosts collapsed to form the Flight of Nightmares.
Yeah, which is Brizella's name.
Yeah.
Right. The host of nightmares.
Yeah, which is pretty cool. And so we mentioned the Sigardan Church. The Sigardan, so the Church of Avacyn, the uncorrupted true, now follow Avacyn.
Or
Sorry,
Sigarda.
now follow Sigarda, because we mentioned last time the Abyssinian priest and the Sigardan priest are exactly the same card. There's just now they follow Sigarda. So it's now the Sigardan Church and the Order of Saint Traft are also fine.
Yeah, which is like its militant wing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's just a lot going on that I think is really cool.
Yeah. Bant Bros.
I guess so. Yeah. That's why
But I did like it's the two legendary creatures from original Innistrad that had hexproof, which
Yeah.
are the ones that were
Oh,
resistant
yeah.
to
Yeah, the
to
guys in Saint
Emrakul.
Traft and Sigarda. That's so cool. That's so cool. I don't know if that's why, but I hope it is.
Yeah.
Because Bruna and Gisela did not have hexproof,
No.
but Sigarda and the Geist did, which I think is really cool. Also, original Sigarda, prevented you from being forced to sacrifice stuff.
Yeah.
if that's all relevant.
Except
New Sigarda doesn't have hexproof.
no.
No,
No.
but she gives your permanence hexproof.
Yeah, she gives all your humans hexproof,
Right.
And you.
and you. Yeah.
I guess they couldn't make her hexproof as well because it basically means
You-
resolve
you
the
don't get to
spell.
play-
No,
Yep.
you don't get to interact for the rest of the game.
Yep.
Who needs to interact? Don't worry about it.
It should really be. There's got to be some sort of wording. I bet Mark Rosewater was pushing for some sort of wording being like, humans you control, including yourself.
Yeah. Provided you are human. Well, like the one wording that they've apparently been trying to figure out,
I made meat popsicle.
or trying to keyword, was some kind of ability that is the inverse of indestructible, where instead of not being
Super
able to
destructible?
destroy it, it's this creature can still be destroyed, but it can't be bounced to your hand or put on top of your library or forced to be sacrificed or
Right.
be given, I think, -1/-1
Right.
kind
So
of effects.
It's like it's resilient or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So it has to be killed in combat.
Yeah,
Or
or just
destroyed
destroyed,
effects.
Right.
or burned down.
What about exiled?
I'm not sure exactly what it is, but apparently they've been working on something like that.
Yeah, the idea is that once it's on the battlefield,
You
It
have
ain't-
to.
you can kill it, but you can't tuck it or bounce it or
yeah.
Or
or-
just debuff it.
grip tight or whatever.
Yeah.
That's interesting. That'll be some interesting templating.
Oh, I get what they're talking about, but boy, is that boiling that down to put it on a card sounds difficult.
Yeah, because it's
Well,
it's
because
one of the things.
indestructible is so easy to understand because it's like the carding on the wording on Magic cards is very important, right? It's like destroy. Destroy will destroy a creature unless it cannot be destroyed, which is represented by the word indestructible.
Yeah.
Right? That's very clear. Whereas this is going to have like 3 lines of reminder text.
Yeah, but I
Be
mean,
like-
you can debuff it indestructible and put like -1/-1
Yeah,
counters
There's
on it.
some
and stuff.
unclear
It
stuff.
like can only be sent to the graveyard. Like the only zone it can go
Yeah.
into is the graveyard or
Yeah.
something.
Something like that. Yeah.
Graveyard home. No, nobody. All right. I think that'll do it for this week. Unless you had anything else.
Nope.
No, that's
I
kind of
got to
everything
read
I
out
wanted
the
to talk
funnest
about.
parts of the story.
Although,
Yeah.
wait, I did want to just give a shout out to, I think, Allison, who wrote the Jisa and Geralf story for this set, which was just, siblings, brothers and sisters, like twins, they get along, but they have this, like, great hatred for each other
Yeah.
that I really
They
enjoy.
have a massive rivalry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My favorite.
I'll make a better zombie. No, I will.
Yeah.
My favorite part of the story is where Geralf breaks Gisa out of prison, and she sends him a letter being like, "Somehow I miraculously escaped from prison." And
Yeah,
he's just
and-
like,
And his response is like, "You're so stupid. How did you never think of it?" And it's so juvenile, like their interaction. He's like, "How did you never think it was me that did it?" Right?
but on the bright side, they get back together because they have a shared card in
Yeah.
Eldritch Moon where they're working together.
Yeah, but
Yep.
like their interaction is so 12 years old.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
I mean, it's probably actually not good for Innistrad that they're working together again, to be honest with
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
Also, it's really minor, but I like that Gisa and Geralf, I believe they were printed in Commander,
Yes, yeah.
but I like that Gisa's card is black and Geralf's card is blue, and so their combined card is black and blue.
Yeah.
That's very baseline flavor, but I enjoy it. So anyway.
Yeah, these fiends are slightly less tolerable than you. A sentiment that warms my heart, sister.
I was gonna say. I mean, the real opposite of indestructible is the phantasm ability, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, right.
If you
If you
even
look at it
If you
funny.
blink
Look
at
at
it. Yeah.
even if they countered the spell that hit it,
Yeah.
it still dies.
Yeah, all you have to do to an illusion creature is kind of stare at it,
Yeah.
being like, "Hey."
I guess the only thing more fragile than that is Norn the Wary.
Oh, yeah.
Anytime anyone casts a spell, he just runs away.
Norn.
That's the noise he makes.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's going to do it for Tap Tap Concede for this week. As always, Tap Tap Concede is brought to you by you and your kind support of our Patreon at patreon.com/loadingreadyrun. It is by your support that we are able to do all of the things. So thank you so much.
I'm reading Norin the Wary, and it's like, why would I ever play this?
There's some bullshit you can do with it.
Some Commander players will tell you on Twitter, I'm sure.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah. Until next time, thank you so much for listening, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.